Hi everyone, welcome to Javaras. In this video, we will continue working on personal blog project, which we have started working in the previous video. This project is hosted on roadmap.sh website, so you can go and take a look at it. These are the project requirements. In the previous video, we have already did basic setup for the project. So we have set up the database. We have set up a springboot project with Thymeleaf and Tailwind CSS. Okay. In this video, what we will do is we will create our model to store the article, and also we will populate few articles using some random data. Let's get started. I opened my project in VS Code. So if I go to docker compose.yml, here we have specified this image for Postgres. So this is older version, so I will use new version, which is Postgres 16. So this will be our new image. And okay, now if I go to .vs code directory, here we have launch.json, and here I specified one configuration. So I will specify the name of this launch, and this is the main class. This is the name of the project which will appear, and I will specify the environment file. So it will take this .env file from the workspace folder, this file, and it will read all these properties. So it will read Spring profiles active. Currently it is local, and the Postgres database user and password, these variables, and they will be used in application.properties file. So main resources, here we don't have anything here. So here, for- yeah, this variable, this variable is used by Spring. So here we have specified local. So local profile will be active for Spring. Now we are not using these three variables, but I want to use them. So instead of hard coding this here, I will say this database. Okay, I'll just copy paste this as well. Postgres user, and this will be Postgres password, so that we can utilize the environment variables. This is a blog, and blog is set of articles. So I will create one class called article which will represent each article in the blog. Here, let's create a new file. It will be inside article package, and the name of the file will be article.java. But this is not inside article, so I will just remove it. Let's create new Java file. Okay, let's create new Java package first. I will call it article. And inside article, I will create a new Java file, which is a class, and let's call it article. Okay. So this will represent one article, and I want to persist it in the database as well. Let's say entity, and name will be articles. I don't want to give it articles name. I will give it article. So this is the name of the entity, but the actual table name should be different. For that, we have this annotation table, and the name of the table should be articles. Now it will have many things. First of all, it will have ID. So what I can use is I can use a string field in order to represent the ID. But what I want to do is I want to create another class called article ID, which internal will store ID as a random string only. But still I want to create a new class so that we don't assign any ID of some other thing to the ID of any article. So it's a good practice. So let's say in your application you have multiple type of entities. Let's say article, blog, user, organization. If we make ID as a string, then it is possible that by mistake we may assign ID of one type to ID of another object of another type. But if we create separate classes for IDs, so there is no chance that we can assign organization ID as a ID to one article. So for that we need to use embedded ID annotation, and let's say attribute override, the name is ID, and so here what we are saying is the article ID class will have a field called ID, and we want to store that field with this column name. So here I'm specifying ID. If I don't specify anything here, then by default it is the name of the field. Let's create private article ID. Now I need to create this article ID class, which I will just do now. We'll click on quick fix, create class article ID. Article ID has been created. I will make it record, and let's give it UUID ID. Okay. Now I want to assert few things. So first of all, let's do this public article ID. I want to assert that the ID should not be null. Assert.not null ID, and then the message. Let's say ID must not be null. Then I want to give the ability to create the its ID without specifying anything. For that, I will create a constructor public article ID, and this UUID.random UUID. Let's say whenever I want to display this article ID in, let's say, logging or anywhere, so I want to create a method public string as string, and it will return id.toString. So this is our article ID. Now let's go back to article class. I will close everything else. Now we have only article class here, and we have this error here. I think we imported column, but I don't know. Let's import again. Jakarta dot persistence dot column. Okay, fine. So we have ID. Now let's give a title to the article. I will say not null, private string title. And after that, I want to give the published date of the article, not null, private string publish date. After that, let's specify the content. It should also not be null content. And then I will specify one thing, version. So version will be used to, forbid the continue, like concurrent update to the same object. So let's say there are two persons, they read the object from the database and simultaneously they are trying to modify the object. We want to prevent that. So for that, we can we have this annotation version and it will be private long version. Now since we are using Spring Data JPA, so we need one constructor like this constructor without any argument, no argument constructor. Let's create one constructor. This is the constructor which will take ID, title, publish date, and content. Now we need to create getters. So I will create getter for everything. I will create getter for ID, title, and the publish date and version. So let's do that. So how can I do that? There is something. Or let's do that. I will say get ID, then get publish date, get content, get version, ID title. Okay, get title. Now we want to create few setters as well. We don't want to create setter for ID, but we may, let's say, update the article. So we can update the title, we can update the content, and whenever we update, we will update the publish date as well. For that, we want to have setter for everything. We want to have setter for version as well because whenever the article gets updated, we want to update the version. So set title, then set publish date, set content, set version. Let's create two string method. Okay. So we created two string method here. Now the we have completed the article class. Now we need to create a class which is responsible for interacting with the database, and that is called repository. I will create a new Java file. It's article repository, and this article repository will be interface. We will have this transactional notation, and I will say read only true. This will just to improve performance of the database if we have only read operations. In that case, it won't use transactions. So, but this transactional should come from Spring framework. So I will remove it and now I will import this transactional. And this is an interface. So this will extend CRUD repository. This interface take two things. Okay, what is the type of entity and what is the type of entity's ID. I will remove all of these because those are already implemented. I want to implement one more thing, which is paging and sorting repository. I want to extend few things. First is this one, then paging and sorting repository. After that, I want to implement one more thing, which will be useful to generate the article ID, and I will call it article repository custom. And there is no interface. I will create that. Create interface article repository custom. Now, this article repository custom is responsible for generating the article ID for the next article. So I will define one method here, article ID, next ID. Now this is interface. So we need one implementation for this as well. That implementation will be done using class article repository custom IMPL. So I will just do that. Here I will create a new Java file which will be class article repository custom IMPL, and let's implement that interface. Implements article repository custom. Okay. So we have we have implemented this next ID method, but we don't want to generate it using this. We want to use one unique ID generator, which will be responsible for generating unique IDs. So for that, let's create a unique ID generator first. So here I will create a new Java package and I will call it DB. So here we will have some database configuration or whatever we call it. Let's create a new Java file here, and this will be one interface only, and I will call it unique ID generator. This will have only one method, which is UUID and get next unique ID. Now we need to implement it. So in the DB package only, I will implement it using in-memory implementation. So let's create a class and I will call it in-memory unique ID generator. And this will implement unique ID generator. So, okay. Now we don't want to do that, but instead we want to use UUID. So let me remove this and I will just say UUID dot random UUID. This will be UUID. Okay. We have implemented it and close it. Yeah, article repository custom INPL. So this will, instead of just returning a new article ID, it will use that unique ID generator. So we can create instance of that here. So I will say private final unique ID generator, and I will add it as okay. Let's create constructor. Yeah. So we have unique ID generator, and here I will say new article ID, and this dot unique ID generator dot get next unique ID. So this way we are creating a new article ID here. We have implemented this article repository, and we have implemented unique ID generator as well. Now let's create article service. So I will go here, I will create add new Java file, article service. So this will be our article service, which will use article repository to do some database manipulation, and it will have some business logic. Let's annotate with service and also annotate with transactional from Spring. Now it needs an instance of article repository, private final article repository, and we are doing constructor injection for article repository. Now we want to create an article. So in order to create the article, okay, for now we don't want to update and delete. We just want to create. In order to create the article, we don't want to get title and string, but what we want is we want to get the all the information in a class. So what we could do is we could just get one article, but that is not the recommended way. So for each data transfer object, we need to create a new class. So for article, I will create a new Java file, and let's create a record only, and I will call it create article parameters. Create article parameters. Now this will have few things. First of all, it will have title. See, the article needs few things, ID. But since we are creating article, we don't know what will be the ID. We have title, then we have publish date, and then we have content. We have version as well, but version is managed by database, not by us. So publish date will be local date, publish date, and we will have content. Now I think we made some mistake in article. So here publish date should not be string, it should be local date. Okay. Now let's go to create article parameters. Okay, these are all the parameters which are required. I will go to article service where we want to create a new article. So here we want to create a new article. So instead of title and content, we will receive create article parameters, and I will just say parameters. So we want to create a new article. First of all, we need the article ID. So let's get the article ID. Article ID. Article ID will be this dot article repository dot next ID. So this next ID will in turn call this article repository construct this method, and we have provided its implementation here. So we will get a new article ID. We will use the same here, article ID. Then we have title. Then we have published date. Okay, one more thing. when we changed it from string to local date, then we break few things. So here, let's make it local date, make it local date, and here as well, it will be local date, local date, okay? And we will remove this. So this is published date, then sorry, this is title, this is published date, this is content. And we don't need to specify the version. Then we will just return article repository dot save article. It will save the article and it will return the updated article. So we are done with creating the article service. Today we just want to save few articles and want to see them in the database. We don't want to retrieve, modify, delete the article. With that in place, we need to provide some configuration for our project. So here I will create a new Java package. Let's call it configuration. And here I will create a new Java file called where configuration. Let's annotate it with configuration. And here we want to provide implementation for unique ID generator. So if you see here, we have unique ID generator interface. That is fine. Here we have implementation, but we need to register this implementation in application context. Otherwise, wherever we are injecting it, so for example, we are injecting it in, I guess, article repository custom IMPL here. So this injection will fail because it won't find any instance of unique ID generator. But if we register in memory unique ID generator in the application context, so Spring application or Spring automatically create an object of this. And since this implements unique ID generator, so wherever in application we need an instance of unique ID generator, this will be provided. One thing is we can just declare it with let's say component, but I want to keep configurations somewhere else. So here we have configuration, and let's create a bean public and unique ID generator. This is the method name, this is the type, and let's return new in memory unique ID generator. Okay, so we have defined the configuration for our project. Now, how do we want to create the data? So one way is we can define controller and everything. But why what I want to do is I want to create a class which will be responsible for generating some fake data. So that will be at the top. So let's create a new Java file and I will call it database initializer. So this is the database initializer and I will just mark it as component. And this will implement command line runner. Let's do that. Command line runner and okay. So we need to implement this run method. Now you might be wondering that okay, if it implements command line runner, that means this run method will be executed after application is started. And that is true, but we don't want to do that. Let's say we start our application, there will be some data in our database. If we start the application again after doing some work, then it will continue adding some data in our database. Obviously, we don't want to do that. because if we want to deploy the application in production, then also we don't want this to run. For that, I will specify some profile here and I will call it initDB. So whenever initDB profile is active for Spring application, only then this component will be in effect and only then this run method will be executed. So now what we can do is we can go in this .env file and add initDB here whenever we want to populate the data. If we don't want to populate the data, we can just remove it. Okay, so I have removed it for now. This is the database initializer. Now, database initializer needs to access article service. So let's do that. We'll say private article service, article service. Let's make it final as well. That is it. Now, okay, now let's start populating the data. So I will create a logger first. Private static final logger from slf4j logger equal to this logger factory dot get logger. I will import it dot get logger, and this is the current class name. We have the logger. Now let's use logger instead of system out. Logger dot info, and I can say initialize the database with dummy data, and I can remove it. Now here I want to let's say initialize it with 20 records. So let's create a loop 0 I less, or let's say I equal to 1, I less than equals to 20, I plus plus. Now we will run one method 20 times. So first of all, okay, we need to use this dot article service dot create article. But first of all, okay, we need to create this create article parameters. So either we can just use this, but I don't want to do that. I want to create a method. So I will say create article parameters equal to, we want to generate some random parameter. So generate random create article parameters. Once we have the parameters, what we can do is article service dot create article parameters, and I can specify it. I can assign it to a local variable. So we have article here, then logger dot info created article. But I don't want to print the whole article because the article will have content that will be too long. I just want to print its ID and title. So created article and this. So for the first placeholder, we will just put the ID. For the second parameter, we will put the title. And after that, I will just say logger.info database initialization completed. And let's put some emoji here and some emoji here. And some emoji here. Okay, this is article. Now we need to create this method. So let's do that. Create this method. Okay, where did it create the method? Let's create the method here. Okay, create article parameters. Generate random create article parameters. Now, first of all, we need to generate the random article title. So I will have one method here. Private string generate random article title. And then we will generate our random article content and we will generate random publish date. Private local date generate random article publish date. We have these three methods, and using these three methods we can create this. Let's do that. First of all, we need title, publish date, and content. Okay, if we go here, title, publish date, and content. Good. Hmm. Now we need to complete these methods. So now there is one library which is called Faker library. Using that library, we can create some fake data. So I will search for Java Faker library. Is this the one? Yes, this is the one. And we can install it. Okay, this has been installed and sorry, copied. I will go to form.xml and I will add the dependency here. I will add some comment, taking data, paste that here, and I will save it. So, okay, so it is building the project that is finished. So let's create one instance of that faker. So private final faker faker, and we want to create its instance here. Is dot faker equal to new faker. Okay, now let's use it. So in order to generate article title, we can say return faker.book.title. Okay, go. Let's say we want to generate article content, return fake.lorem.paragraphs 3. Okay, so it will generate 3 paragraphs, but it will generate a list of string. So we need to concate them, and then we will have the content of the article. So now I don't want to have 3 paragraphs in each article. Let's say the number of paragraphs in the articles I want is from, let's say, 5 to 10. So for that we need to use random. We can do that. I will go here and private final random and is dot random equal to new random. So paragraph, it accepts, I think, two arguments. Sorry, yeah, one argument on number of paragraphs. Random dot next int from 5 to let's say 10. So it may have paragraphs from 5 to 9. Then I will stream and then I will reduce. So initially it will be empty string. And then if we have two paragraphs, then we will join both of these paragraphs with one new line in between. So A plus new line plus B. Okay, and we will return that. So we have created the content. Now let's create a local date, which is this publish date. Now in order to do that, we will create a new date first. Let's say date equal to maker dot date. So we want to create a date using something else. Maker dot date dot past. So it will generate the past date. Let's say I want to have it's 1500 days. So time unit dot days. So it will generate a random date from previous 1500 days to today. And why date cannot be resolved to a type. Let's quick fix it. Java.util. Okay, so we have date here, but we want to return a local date. So return local date dot cop. Now we need year, month, and day of month. Year will be date dot get year, date dot get month, date dot get date. Okay, and we will just return it. Okay. There might be some easy way to do that, but I found that whenever we generate using this faker, it looks like actual some random data or like it is written by some API calls or something instead of just saying article 1, article 2, article 3, these kind of things. Okay. Now I think with that, we should be good to go. But let me see if the database is running or not. Docker PS is not running. But if I go to Docker composed by YAML, we have this file. So this is the image name. We are using Postgres version 16. Okay. Now I think one more thing is remaining, which is like creating the tables in the database. For that, I will use flyway migration. So if I go to resources directory, src main, and then resources. So in the resources directory, I will create a new folder db, and inside db, I will create a new folder again, which is migration, and I will create a new SQL file here. Let's create a new file, which is I will name it v1.0 init.sql. Now, you can read about flyway migration. So if I say flyway maven, so you can read about like how to add that here. Or I think let's go to flyways documentations. Flyway. So you can read about flyway here, how to use it and things like that. Now we want to use flyway. So flyway is supported by Spring Boot. What we can do is go to form.xml, and here I will just add Spring Boot starters. So command click, and I will search for flyway migration, and just click on enter. Adding flyway migration, proceed. Okay. It says that it has been added, but where did it add it? This is Thymeleaf layouts. This I'm going to start a test. This is Java Faker. This I'm going to start a data JPA and PostgreSQL, Thymeleaf. This I'm going to start a web, but I don't see it has added that flyway. Let me search it. Okay, so it has added dependencies here, but I don't want to have like two dependencies tag. I will cut it from here. I will put it inside the original dependencies section. And this is also related to database. I will put it here. Save it. It will reload the project. That means it will fetch these jar files and put them in the class path. Now after that, I will go here. Now here we need to write SQL command in order to create the table. And this is the beauty of like this migration tool that you may run this project as many times as you want, but it will keep track of whether this SQL script has already been run or not in your database. If it has already been run, then it won't run it again. Let's create the table. So create table articles, and we need ID, will not be serial because serial means like auto increment long ID, but it will be UUID, and it should not be null. Then we will have version, which will be big int and not null, and title, which is varchar 255 not null, and content will be text, which will not be null, and then we will have published date. Here we are saying title should not be greater than 255 characters, then published date, which will be date, not timestamp, because timestamp includes date and time, but we just want the date when the article was published, and it should not be null. Now we will have this constant primary key, which will be ID. Okay, so not null, not null, not null, not null, not null, and this is primary key. Okay, let's save it. And if I go to, okay, now let's close everything. Okay, we created a file. I want to close it. I will close everything. Then I will go here. Since we have already created this launch configuration, I can just run it. If we run it, okay, it is starting. We got some error. Okay, maybe database is not running. Okay, we did not run the database. If I say docker ps, there is nothing. I will say docker compose upd, and the database will be up and running in no time. Let's run it again. Now again we got some error. Why are we getting this error? Application run failed. Error creating bill with name entity manager factory. Error creating bin with name flyway initializer. Unsupported database PostgreSQL 16.6. Okay, let's me go to start.spring.io, and here name dependency, highway migration, and PostgreSQL explore. Okay, so we have flyway and we need to add this flyway database PostgreSQL as well. So copy that, go to form.xml, I will replace it with these two. Okay. Save it. It will be reloaded automatically. And let's run it again. Hopefully it will work. Application failed to start. Parameter 0 of constructor required a bean of type unique ID generator that could not be found. Unique ID generator should be there. Why is it not there? Unique ID generator. Let me go there. Article repository custom IMPL. We go to Java DB. We have in-memory unique ID generator which implements this unique ID generator. Okay. Dev Java's backend project. Dev Java's backend projects. Okay. Yeah, I see. Why is it not working? Because our application is inside personal blog application, but we have specified these things outside personal blog, so it is not scanning those. So, I will put this database initializer inside personal blog, move, and do not ask me again. Okay. And I want to, you know, move this configuration as well inside personal blog. And I want to move DB also inside personal blog because personal blog is the entry point. So now everything is inside personal blog. Okay. Okay. I think imports are also fine. Run it again. Okay. It it has started. Now I will go to this DB viewer in order to view the data. I will refresh personal blog. Okay. Reconnect to the database. Refused. Let's retry. Okay, close. Okay, I will close it. I will close everything. I will refresh this one. Connection refused. Details. Check that the host name and port are correct and that the parameters accept TCP/IP connections. Fine. Okay. If I go to Docker Compose, yeah, the port is 5432, not 5431. So I will edit connection. Port is 5432 and test connection. It is connected. Okay. I will click on refresh. Let's go there. Personal blog, schema, public, tables. You can see the table has been generated, article table, but there is no data. Why is there no data? Okay, because if we look at here, the following one profile is active, which is local. But our database initializer will run only if initdb profile is active. You see here, it will run only if initdb profile is active. So we need to mark initdb as active profile. So let's go to env file .env and put initdb here, initdb. Okay, let's run the application again. And now this time only one profile is active. Now let's save it again and restart the application. Still says one profile is active. Let me run it again from here. Now I think two profiles are active, but we are getting some error. That is fine, but at least two profiles are active now. If we go here, application run failed. Yeah, that is fine. But I want to see whether any DB is active or not. Okay. Two profiles are active, local and init DB. And we are getting some errors. Let's try to resolve them. Article does not exist. Okay. Exception executing SQL. Select dot zero. Okay. Article does not exist. Let's go to article. Okay, yeah, table name should be articles, not article. And I will restart the application again. Now we are getting something else. Invalid value for month of year. Valid value is 1 to 12. Yeah. So here the issue is this get month. This returns value from 0 to 11. If you see value 0 representing January, but in the local date the month starts from 1. January is first. So I will just do +1. And if I restart the application, okay, you can see we created few articles and database initialize is completed. Okay, so let's go here. I will refresh. We have the data here. So these are the title. Now you can see why I used Faker library. Okay, so now this looks like okay the articles were generated by like actual persons, not like random articles. And this is the content. This is the content of the article. So that works great. There have been some problems, but that's the case. We always get problems and we always try to solve them. That's it for this video. If you found this video to be useful, then consider liking it and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.